1010 was last night. Cybercab is unveiled to the world. It looks a little like we thought, but nothing like we expected. And is that a good thing? And how much is this thing really going to cost to build? The design is absolutely genius, and you're not going to believe all of the ways in which they're going to be saving a whole lot of money. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Ozza. No music this time. Let's just get into it. There is too much to share. AJ, fellow Rebellionaire, he does great work. Link in the description, had this to say. And we will go over this at length. You shall see there's a lot of slides. Let's just keep moving. Initial observations on the RoboCab. Overall, this vehicle shouts cost savings, which is a great thing for investors. Everywhere you look, you can see cost savings, while low cost doesn't mean cheap looking, except for a few less important things. Overall, this vehicle shouts cost savings. Yeah, so let's look at them. Overall, very simple design. Makes for very low production cost, but highly aerodynamic. In fact, a very similar shaped vehicle already exists. I'll post it separately, and he did. So this is what we're looking at. This is it in gold for some reason, but this is the one he was looking at. It's just an aerodynamic shape. It is very slippery, and that's what you need in something that's going to be racking up a cajillion miles across the fleet, especially if you're the one paying for it. No roof glass, simple panel instead. Now this isn't a great shot of it, but you know what a roof looks like. Hey man, the panoramic glass is beautiful. I love it, but it's expensive. That's why most cars don't have it. That's why some very premium cars like Lucid offer a cheaper version without it. It's expensive. If you've ever had to replace it, you know. And then there's the cost of installing it, the cost of the seams, the seals, all of that. It's a lot of extra fiddly work that you can just circumvent. Boom, right there you saved hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, probably hundreds, but hundreds adds up to a lot when you're talking about something that costs 25 grand. Simple hood panel, high straight cut line makes for easier alignment and assembly. Easier alignment, what do you mean by that? Well, if you look, the hood is all the way across. This is whole thing, and it is this whole panel, and the line is here. This is not a real line. This is a decorative line, and it goes over the clip here. You see, if it hangs over a little bit, it doesn't need to be aligned. You wouldn't notice a millimeter or 3 off. It disappears. So if you look at this, because the line is across a flat surface, it's very noticeable. It's a problem, and not just for Tesla, but for other manufacturers as well. Then they've also got these seams here. Avoid them. If you look, they're gone. Those seams are gone. This tiny spot here is the only seam on the entire front half of the car that would be noticeable. That's across a flat panel. Mach-E did the same thing. The lip hangs over, so you would never notice a panel misalignment here. It's just not something you can perceive because the gap is already so big. First, Tesla with framed windows, cheaper, easier to build, seals last longer, and there are acoustic benefits. So we're talking about this frame that goes around the edge. What are we talking about here? Well, this is a framed window, and this is frameless. The seals can wear out quicker, the windows can wear out quicker, the motors can wear out quicker, and it's a lot more complicated. That's why, the Cybertruck doesn't have a framed window, and that's why you have to be careful with your elbow, because if you try and open the door, it'll pop up a little bit so it doesn't get trapped in the door because there's no frame to hold it. No rear window saves various components and lowers complexity. The whole back, there's no rear window. No glass, no cables for heating element, no labor for setting the glass, significant weight savings because glass is very heavy, and acoustic benefits, etc. So we're talking about this big area here. And again, look, limited seams. This is a gutter for the rain. You wouldn't notice an imperfection there. And the whole back, just a cheap piece of metal or plastic. I really wanted to be there so I could find out if it was metal or plastic. I did hear rumor that the body is mostly plastic. But the official word from the representative was the specs will be on the website. No, they won't. Side windows are a single pane of glass, and I'm not talking about laminated versus unlaminated, separate question, but one piece of glass. It's often broken into two, a large and small element, for visibility and other reasons. You know, this little guy in the corner of a lot of cars, it's expensive. And not only is it expensive, it's another point of failure. It's a lot of work to install, but there's a reason you have to do it. And if you look here, you'll see it doesn't have it. And the main reason is usually the window would not fit inside the door if you didn't break it up into two. That's why on old sedans you'd see that whole split section that doesn't roll down. It's because if you wanted the whole thing to roll down, it could only roll down halfway. And a lot of manufacturers did that and pretended it was for child safety, which it wasn't. It was just impossible to roll down a window that large into a door that was curved to cut out for the back wheel. The rear comprises of a minimal number of components: a large panel and a small light strip and a second smaller panel. So we already looked at the back roof, so to speak, but that's it. The back roof, this piece of trim with the light, and this, and that's it. That's the whole thing. No complicated stuff. It's quite simple. Very low cost seat design. Now, if you saw any of the test rides, you saw the seats. No expensive stitching. It's possible. Seat's not even motorized. Why would you need to adjust it? Just get in and go for a ride. Are the back seats of taxis adjustable? On the picture, it looks like there's a lever suggesting a manual adjustment, but that's possibly vestigial. These seats are very basic. We don't need performance bucket seats that hold us around the corners. We need something cheap, durable, and easy to wash. Another shot here, you can see the stitching doesn't have to be perfect. It can be internal stitching like this. It doesn't need to be gorgeous. It just needs to be strong and functional. Good way to save a few bucks. And he also mentioned, I guess this was on a different one. We'll get back to it. Small minimalist center console. And he's talking about this area right here. There's no big thing in the middle. How many pieces is that in your center console? There's just foot room. There's just leg room. It's what you want. You don't need a place to store a million things if it's not your car. What you need is something cheap, easy, durable, reliable. Very simple door panel design. No large number of different materials. No issues with seams. So let's see. Here we can see the door panel. It's very simple. Just a couple pieces of plastic. That's all you need. And there's another shot of it from a different angle. Lovely. There is no small rear side window, even though it looks like it. The black glass looking piece is just for decorative purposes, which means there's no B-pillar. So that's where I needed my B-pillar thing. This is the B-pillar, the one that goes behind the driver. B-pillar, B-pillar. Hope you can see that. It's the one just behind you as the driver or front seat passenger. And what that means, let's get back to it. We are right here. The black glass is just decorative. Yeah. And it's right here. It looks like a window. It is not. So you don't have the glass. You don't have the weight of the glass. You don't have the cost of the glass. You don't have the complexity. And because it's not real, this doesn't have to be a thin structural element strong enough to hold up the whole car. You can make it simpler and cheaper when you do that. And here's the other version of this. I had it open twice. Obviously, no steering wheel, no steering column, no steering assist motors or hydraulics, no accelerator pedal, none of the required electronics, none of the wiring harness, none of the testing and validation that goes into all of those things. You just eliminated 1,000 parts out of the car and made more room. There's more room now. So that's all a huge cost savings. Tesla, typical minimalist dashboard design, but with improved edges and surfaces. So the surface connects make it easier to create a perfect seam. So I wanted to demonstrate. We already showed it on the outside of the car. We've already shown you what the inside of the car looks like. Looks like that. But what do I mean by those seams? Like that seam you wouldn't notice on the middle of the dash because it can be varied. Wouldn't matter. So I went to the old Googles and I typed in auto interior misalignment, and most of the results are Tesla. That's not good alignment right there. Yeah, plenty of these. That's not good alignment. That's not good alignment. That's something that is apparently kind of a known issue. And again, I didn't put Tesla in here. This is the real. I'll just reload it. It's the real results. Tesla knows this is a weakness. They've engineered out the problem. The problem can't exist anymore. They've engineered it out. And you can see clean lines. I mean, there's no real room for screw ups. It doesn't have, there aren't design elements that are contiguous from one panel to the next. Overall, this makes the vehicle perfect for a mass market use case and makes it very, very hard for any competitor to compete without having to burn first billions for several years in an effort to follow. If you're looking at a RoboTaxi design and you're trying to compare it against, let's see what this is. If you're trying to compare it against a Waymo, the Waymo costs what a car costs plus all the sensors. This car has the sensors. All Teslas do. They just eliminated all the other costs, all of them. That's why I don't believe we're going to find this with a steering wheel. It's just going to come this way. It's a Johnny cab. Now, I brought this picture up because, by the way, these are not scissor doors. These are more like butterflies. If there's a better term for it, let me know in the comments. But I brought this picture up because it shows the cargo space in the back. Substantial. There might even be a sub frunk. Maybe not. Maybe they've decided to put a full-size spare. Probably not. But this is enough cargo space for two people and their luggage. I mean, don't put the people in the back. No, do. Put the people in the back and the luggage in the front and buckle it. And then hit the close button and jump out. Go to your destination. You're going to have a great time. I don't know how you get out. There's probably a release button. Do that when you get there. So then, but the reason I brought this up is AJ, when I reached out to him and asked permission to use his post on X as a source, because I do that, because I always do that, because that's respectful. I don't do it with the Fudster clowns. They don't need respect. I'm educating. In this case, I'm just cribbing his notes because he did such a good job and adding to them. He said, how come we don't see the frunk open? He said, how come we don't see the frunk open? And he thinks, and I agree, that there is no frunk. They moved all of those components that would have been kind of in your way in your feet into the space where the frunk would have been. They're using the front space for all the compressors and, the octavalve and whatever it is that they need up there. The low voltage battery, whatever it may be, they've moved it all into the frunk space because do you really need a second cargo compartment for just a little bit of stuff? It's not like you're carrying around jumper cables or tire pressure monitors. You don't need that. This isn't your car. Or it is, and you'll do that at the shop when it comes home to sleep for the night, whatever the case may be. So we believe there is no frunk. What did I miss? What did I misunderstand? Leave it. Leave it. Because remember, the best frunk is no frunk. I think that's what Tesla says, but I don't know because for whatever reason, they've got me blacklisted. Stay tuned and juicy, and I'll see you in the next one.